Hello guys, my name is Amaan Ahmad. I'm a legal intern at LEXIS and Company, and I'm pursuing 3 years law for Faculty of Law, Delhi University. And the topic of my today's video is the importance of intention while entering into a contract, and the case of Balfour, how it laid down the importance of intention before entering into a contract, and also the basic essentials that I will be covering up. So, an offer plus an acceptance of the offer makes an agreement, but not all agreements are contracts. So an agreement must be enforceable by law to make it contract. That is why there are some essential for an agreement to become a contract. The first and the foremost is the intention to create legal obligation between the parties. Both the parties must be having this intention. Then there is lawful consideration and lawful object. Then there is capacity, that he must not be a minor and not unsound at that time of age, uh, and he can give the valid consent at the time of forming of the contract. And the consent that has to be free, there should be no undue influence or coercion in the consent. The agreement is not declared to be void or illegal or against the public. So that is something. And certainty of meaning, the meaning of the object of contract must be certain, it must not be ambiguous, and the possibility of the performance must be there. The agreement should not be impossible. So the first and the foremost, I will be covering up the intention part to create a legal relationship. When two or more parties enter a contract, one of the essential element is that the party should have the intention to create a legal obligation between themselves. So an agreement will never reach a stage of contract if there is no intention to create legal relationship between the parties. So for an agreement to become a contract, it is imperative that the parties who are entering into a contract must have the intention to create a legal relationship with each other. Though the intention should be such that if any of the parties do not perform their obligation on the other party, can initiate legal proceeding against the default party. So the Indian Contract Act of 1872 does not have any express provision to define the concept of intention between the, but over the year there has been various several nations and international precedents where it has been led that to create a binding effect over a contract, parties must have an intention, legal intention to create a legal relationship. So the importance are, the material aspects are that the parties cannot sue each other in the absence of an intention, and if the intention is to create a legal relationship is absent, then the contract is a mere promise and not a contract. And then the agreement will not have a binding effect if there is no intention to create legal relation, and you cannot sue them in the court for its enforceability. Then this was also laid down in the case of Balfour versus Balfour, a 1919 case. So the principle of intention to create contractual relationship was explained by Lord Atkin in this case. So it was said that not all agreement between the parties result in a contract because their meaning is not termed according to a law. In these circumstances, nobody can suggest whether there is a binding contract or not. And one of the most common forms of such agreements is the agreement between a husband and a wife, or an agreement within the family. This type of agreement can never fall within the ambit of contract, even though there is a consideration, as there is no intention between the parties to create and bear legal consequences. So the source of contract law has been laid down by the two tests to determine the existence of an legal intention to create legal relations. So the first is the objective test. So in this, the court will form an opinion based on how a reasonable person would think. So this a reasonable man tells, so this type of circumstances at that particular point of time, and what was the intention of the parties. Then there is a concept called rebuttable presumption. In several cases such as family or social agreement, the court has a presumption regarding the intention to create a legal relationship, but this can be rebutted on the basis of facts and circumstances. uh, though the test of objectivity was also supported by a case of Carbon versus Carbolic small hole factory that I've covered in the previous video. So in this, the defendant put an advertisement that £100 revolve will be made by the smoke ball company to any person who contracts the increasing epidemic influenza caused by catching a cold after having used the carbolic smoke ball 3 times a day. So the petitioner, in this case Miss Carlyle, she used the ball as prescribed by the company, and still she got the influenza. So she sued the court, and the trial court passed an order in favor of the Carlyle. So Justice Bowen in this judgment was of the view that although the offer is made to all the world, the contract is made with the limited portion of the public who come forward to accept the offer. As an prudent man who reads the advertisement and would presume that there is an intention to create a contract with the party. So the intention was also laid down here, though the company was not able to escape their liability by using that the contract was open to society and there was no illegal intention. So this is one of the landmark cases there. And there are family arrangement or social agreements. The rebuttable presumption works here, and by the facts and circumstances, you have to prove that there was an intention or there was not an intention between the parties. So the case of Balfour versus Balfour, I would like to lay down some bare facts. So in this, the defendant and the wife were enjoying their leave in England, but due to some circumstances, the defendant had to return to Ceylon, and his wife had to stay in England for medical reasons. So defendant agreed to pay some amount of money for probable expenses to the wife. With time differences arose and the relationships south due to which husband stopped sending this money for the medical expenses to the wife, and the wife initiated a legal proceeding against the husband to enforce the contract. And she said that there was a legal intention while the time the husband promised to pay her the money for medical expenses while he was leaving for Ceylon. So the order of the court was that the agreement was purely domestic and the social, and neither of the parties were legally bound as there were no express terms to create a legal relationship between the parties. So the wife lost the case here, but the agreement between the husband and wife does not always depend upon the presumption. It was a long back case, so sometimes it is debated depending on the each facts and cases. So the facts and the cases of the different circumstances, the court will see it. Then agreement between a parent of child also, there was a case regarding, but I cannot remember right now, but between a parent and the child also, if a parent promises that if you get this much marks and I will pay you this something. So this is not a legal contract, this is only a promise that the parent is alluring the child to get a good marks, but there is no legal intention to create a binding promise. And also there is a concept called consideration, and there is also no consideration for the parent. If the a child is getting good marks, there is no consideration, so this is also not type of valid contract. uh, so thank you, that was all I wanted to cover regarding today's video regarding intention and the basis of the contract. And please remember, this video does not violate any guidelines of bar council of India and does not solicit to promote any of the advertisement, and the sole purpose of this video is educational only. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more of this content in future, and I'll be coming up with the next video very soon. Thank you.